Today's video is going to be another thrift store challenge, and despite the snow on the ground, we are trying to get some inspiration for spring, and I thought no better place would be Anthropologie. So we're headed over to Anthropologie to get loads of inspiration, and then we're headed over to the thrift store to see what we can come up with for a whole lot less. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. One of the first things I notice whenever I walk into Anthropologie is their lighting. Their floor lamps, their table lamps, their wall sconces, they are all so beautiful and such good quality, but more so they just find a way to make it feel really unique and special. But as beautiful as they are, I just can't justify spending that much money for a floor lamp or table lamp when I know I can find beautiful lamps also at the thrift store. For example, I came across this one that was just $2, and it was the perfect starting point for a DIY project that I've been wanting to make. I really love this grid lamp that Anthropologie carries. I think it's a nice way to add pattern into your space, but in a really simple way. And to do this, instead of doing like a painting technique, I'm actually going to use washi tape. I ordered mine off of Amazon, and I will link that down below for you guys. I think I paid about $6 for 6 rolls, and I have so much left over. I think this is a really fun way to add some pattern into my space, but if I ever get sick of it, I can just simply remove the washi tape and have a really just neutral home decor piece. One of my favorite things that Anthropologie does is they take something that would otherwise be very basic and they just make it that much more elevated and interesting. For example, their wall shelves always just feel a little bit more special, but you can also find really beautiful wall shelves at the thrift store. Now, this next item was not thrifted. It was just given to me for free. My mother-in-law texted me, said, "Hey, do you want this?" And I said, "Of course." It had a beautiful arch shape. I love its woven quality, and it was large in scale. But one thing I wasn't totally crazy about was this cherry veneer. It just doesn't really go with my floors. So when I was in Anthropologie, I noticed a lot of the kind of just patterns they were using and the different materials. And I noticed they used a lot of kind of moody marble with a lot of gold accents. So I ordered this contact paper off of Amazon. Whenever you're working with any sort of contact paper, if you can, just try to remove the section that you're actually going to be using from the actual roll, because it just makes it a little bit easier to work with, and then you end up with less bubbles and no creases. I like to start at one side and just kind of work my way down, just making sure everything is nice and smooth. With the contact paper adhered really well, it's just time now to remove the excess. So you could use a box cutter or you could use an X-Acto knife, whatever is your preference. You just want to make sure that you're laying something down underneath it if you're doing this inside, so that way you don't damage your floors. And I'm just folding back what I won't need, so it's just out of my way and I can get a nice clean cut all around this shelf. The bottom shelf adhered to the contact paper extremely well, but when I went to do the top shelf, the wood on top was, I think, just a bit warped. So no matter how many times I tried to lay it down, it had some bubbling happening. So one thing I like to do is just take a little needle and poke the bubble and smooth it down. And this is the end result. One thing Anthropologie does really well is pattern, and they make it feel, again, very special. Something that would otherwise be very plain is loaded with tons of color and pattern, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. But I came across a set of 4 of these at the thrift store. Each mug was just 30 cents, and I thought the colors and the pattern were perfect, very fitting for that Anthropologie aesthetic. Comparable mugs from Anthropologie would cost you upwards around $50, and for these 4 mugs, I spent just about $1. The candle holders that Anthropologie carries are some of my favorite pieces that they have in this store. I love this candelabra, but it is $38. And then when I went to the Goodwill, I came across this candle holder, which was just $3.33. I loved the shape, the color was nice and neutral, it was perfect. But then when I brought it home, none of my tapered candles would fit. So one thing I like to do is, if the hole is just a bit too big, just melt down some of the wax at the bottom of your tapered candle. It basically just creates a new mold and will be able to have the candle sit upright. If you've been following this channel, you guys know how much I love wall sconces. I think there's just something about adding something to your wall that is not art, but it still can function as art plus lighting. So I think it's the best of both worlds. This is something you can always find at the thrift store. I find so many different variations. For example, I came across this one that had this beautiful like patinaed brass. So I brought it home. It did not have a glass attached to it, but it was only 50 cents. So I felt like over time, I'll probably find something that will work. But then I also came across this one, and it was a yellow tag, and it was just over $10. And one thing I loved about it was this sort of ruffled quality that you will find a lot of at Anthropologie. So I decided it's a yellow tag day, it's 50% off, it's worth the gamble to see if I can make it work. So I don't feel comfortable hardwiring sconces or lighting that you find at the thrift store just because you don't know enough about it and you want to make sure all the pieces are there. So I just opt for these ones on Amazon, and I attach the screw piece with some super glue gel, and then it's good as new. You would never know that it wasn't hardwired. We cannot talk about an Anthropologie interior design aesthetic without addressing the amount of tinted glassware available for you to purchase. And I've shared this with you guys in the past, but it is a key component, I think, in their decor elements. I loved these turquoise glasses. I just found a set of 2 of them, and I thought that was going to be perfect for summer specifically. I also love a burnt orange or amber glass for the fall months. I found these 2 for just 88 cents a piece. But then my mother-in-law also, when she gave me that rattan shelf, gave me so much glassware, and a lot of it was colorful and tinted. So I picked out some of my favorites for the spring and summer months, and then I headed over to Trader Joe's. Don't go anywhere else for florals. If you have a Trader Joe's in your area, you will never find cheaper, more beautiful, lasting florals than Trader Joe's. So taking my Trader Joe's florals and my thrifted or gifted vases and glassware, I can scatter these all throughout my house for a fresh spring look. Anthropologie has quite a variety of different art you can purchase, and sometimes I think that can be a little bit overwhelming. So what I like to do actually is either look through an art catalog or go to an art museum near you and see what it is that you're naturally gravitated towards, so you don't waste money on art that you really don't love, but you like it in the store. So I know the things that I like. So I like still lifes, I like florals, I like abstract. So I found this little just watercolor that was so sweet. I loved the colors, and I just found that frame previously at a thrift store, cutting this 50-cent watercolor piece down to the appropriate size, making sure to leave the person's name at the bottom, and then adding it back into the frame. And whenever it comes to styling, I like to mix. So if I have somewhat of a more kind of vintage piece, I'll add a decor element in that just feels a bit more modern, just so you have that kind of contrast, and that creates a lot of interest when you do that. One thing I don't really think I've ever talked about on this channel is, even if you don't find art that you like, make sure that you're checking the wallpaper section, because every now and then you can come across wallpaper that might really suit your space. Now for me, I'm a little bit timid to do wallpaper even though I own my house, just because I've had bad experiences with it peeling in the past. So I think a nice solution is take a thrifted frame and then just add the wallpaper to the cardboard backing. And I think you can get a similar look and effect. And this is a really nice, like, renter friendly option that really didn't cost much money at all. When it comes to metals, I would say Anthropologie uses a lot of brass, more so than any other metal. So one tip I have for you guys when you're out thrifting is, oftentimes when I see things in boxes, I'll see people just walk right past it because it's not so obvious and in their face like a lot of the other decor is, especially at a thrift store. But oftentimes that's where you're gonna find the brand new, never used pieces. So I found this garden trellis with these beautiful brass bells, and once it starts to warm up and gardening season can really take full effect, I can place this outside, but for now, I can place it inside for some interesting wall decor. And kind of like the sconces, Anthropologie carries a lot of really interesting wall hooks. It just takes something that would otherwise be very basic and it makes it feel just really special and unique, and it gives your space personality, which I think everybody needs. But you can also find really beautiful wall hooks at the thrift store. So I came across this one. I think it is missing one of the pieces, and some of the pieces needed to be bent back a little bit. And just to unify everything, I decided to just give it one coat of some gold spray paint just to give it a new life again. And I think this is going to be perfect in my daughter's room. And that about wraps it up for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments which find was your favorite. I hope you leave this video feeling inspired to check out your local thrift store and see what you can come up with. Let me know down in the comments any other stores you'd be interested in seeing this style of a video too, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.